You are listening to All Burgundy and Go Everything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. Hopewell, Virginia. We got a full roster here, folks. It's Wole, Mo, Glenn, and Ray Jeezy. What's good, fellas?
Nothing much, man. Washington got a new head coach, and don't know how to feel about it.
Everybody, look, the fan base has comments. I know that. It's one way or the other. You got some folks who aren't in love with it. You got some folks who like it. Some folks who are just like, let's wait and see. So it's definitely a time in DC, man. It definitely is. Before we get into that discussion, let's get into the particulars. Hey, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and also other podcast platforms. Just search All Burgundy and Go Everything. Also, tweet us at ABG_ everything. Hit us up on IG at ABG_ everything. And like our All Burgundy and Go Everything Facebook page. Make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Go Everything YouTube channel as well. All right, it's time for the pregame. We already mentioned this is what we have on tap. We are going to talk about the Washington Commanders hiring coach, former defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, Dan Quinn. He's gotten the gig. So let's get right into it. Glenn, I'm going to start with you. When you heard the news that Dan Quinn was going to be the new head coach for the Washington Commanders, what were your thoughts, man?
First thing that came to my mind was everybody else said no. Mm-hmm. The very first thing that came to my mind was that everybody else said no. Because we heard about other names that was out there, right? McDonald was out there yet. McDonald was out there. Weaver was still out there, which I didn't think Weaver would get the job anyway. You knew Belichick was still out there, but I think Belichick, I knew he was in the running, but I felt like, he wants too much control. He doesn't want to work with the GM because Belichick's reputation. Belichick wants to be the GM and the head coach. He wants total control, and he knew that he wasn't going to get that in Washington D.C. And in Washington because you just hired Adam Peters. So when I saw Dan Quinn, I said, you know what, it might be a good fit. He's the best that's left out there besides Mike Vrabel. But again, he knows the division in my mind, because he faced everybody in the division already. So he knows how to handle the division. I say, okay, it's not a bad job, but he wasn't Washington's first choice. Because if he was Washington's first choice, he would have been hired a week ago when he was still out, when Dallas got eliminated from the playoffs. And they wouldn't have been waited. So we all know, let's be honest, the Washington organization can say what they want to say. Dan Quinn was not their first choice. Ben Johnson probably was their first choice. Mike McDonald probably was their second choice when both of those teams got eliminated. And they wanted to bring those in, and Dan Quinn just happened to fall to the Washington Commanders. Is it a bad hire? No, right? He was successful in Atlanta. He turned around the Seattle Seahawks defense when he was the defensive coordinator over there, and so he did some good things. And he turned around the Dallas defense when he was in Dallas, right? So we do one thing for sure. The Washington Commanders defense this year sucked for the last several years, right? Let's be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. One thing for sure, that Washington is going to have a good defense with Dan Quinn as the head coach. Now the question is, who's going to be the offensive coordinator to coincide with the defense? Because let's not flip it. My thing is, let's not flip it around. Let's not have a great defense and a poor offense. Did we just flipping seasons again? Because we had a poor offense this year, but we had a decent offense this year.
In the beginning, but not
in the beginning, you had a decent offense. In the beginning, up until the halfway point, right? Till guys quit and start cashing in and started booking vacation tickets, right? You had a good defense, you had a good offense, and you had a bad defense. But this time it's gonna flip. You're gonna have a good defense. Now you got to be able to have a good offense to go with a good defense. So only time will tell. I think Dan Quinn might be a good hire for Washington. Wasn't their first choice, but I'm here to see how it plays out.
Mo, thoughts when you heard the news, my man?
When I heard the news, I think early on when me and Glenn were talking about who the GM should be and all the coach, like looking forward into the offseason and whatnot. I thought that Dan Quinn was a good hire back then for all the reasons that were stated, such as like him having head coaching experience, him being in the division, him being a defensive coordinator, and this team struggling on defense last year. The style of play, especially because I thought a lot of the assets on this team was on the defensive side compared to the offensive side, which is Terry and B-Rob. So with the way that the players on the defense that we know are probably going to likely be back, the Alabama Wall, hopefully they get a contract for Cam Curl because of his importance to the defense. And Emmanuel Forbes being an asset because he was a first-round draft pick. You also doubled down and went another corner with Martin in the second round. And knowing that Forrest had a good season the year before, I thought that he could bring some stability to the defense, especially the way that Dallas was playing. And just looking at the way that Dallas played with their corners, with their eyes on the ball, I think that's what led to a lot of the turnovers that Dallas corners have made over the past 3 seasons, starting with Trayvon Diggs prior to his injury, him leading the league last year with double-digit, not last year, the year before, with double-digit interceptions, and Bland this year breaking the pick 6 record. I think that plays right into the hands of the game and the skill set of Emmanuel Forbes rather than what Jack Del Rio had here. And just, with $90 million to spend and the second overall pick in the draft, I just thought that it'd be a good hire, especially with I thought that Adam Peters are probably going to be the GM also because of the pedigree coming from San Francisco. So right now, man, boy, 2 for 2, man. I just, I just know what I know.
I wasn't. What's this? So I've been seeing the chat. What is this 2 for 2 thing that y'all be talking about? I don't even know what's happening.
When you departed, and you took a hiatus, went for your little break. You had to go down there and go handle some business.
Yeah. So you predicted this?
Me and Glenn had a conversation here when it was a 2-man show.
Okay.
When we were talking about who the GM and the head coach would be, and then on that initial show, I called Adam Peters being the GM.
Did you?
I called Dan Quinn, man.
That's dope. All right.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to go 3 for 3. I'm trying to go 3 for 3. I'm trying to figure out if Eric Bieniemy is still under contract, and if he is, if he's going to take that role, or what's going to happen with him. If he's retained, I think I might know a little bit of football.
Oh, you predicted that too? You predicted EB?
I mean, that's the third variable in there.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Well, if you get that one, we going to Vegas, buddy.
Bro, if you get that, you a beast. I ain't going to hold you.
Put it all on black, baby.
So, Mo, I'm going to start with you. A secondary question to that. Because you mentioned a lot of the defensive weapons. Oh, so all right, my bad.
I messed with you. Go ahead.
No, you know why I ain't asked you, Ray. I was going to, but you know why I ain't asked you. I ain't want to be redundant with you.
Hold on, you got to go to Ray because you know what? Dan Quinn's Atlanta.
Ray know why I ain't asked because I didn't want to be. All right, Ray, who are your thoughts, Ray?
I was totally joking, by the way. But what I was saying is this: the honeymoon period is starting to end because of this hire, not because Dan Quinn's not a good coach. It's because this is not what everybody wanted, and it's the time frame it took to hire him. Right. We were just talking about WWE before we came on, right? Yeah. Remember WWE a couple weeks ago? Mo wouldn't know this, but I would, and Glenn and Wole would. They were like, we're going to have a special guest tonight. I think it was SmackDown, and out came Jinder Mahal. That's what Dan Quinn was. Everybody was like, this the special guest? Like seriously? Not that Jinder Mahal ain't dope, but it's not who people expected. Like, this was it. Like, we waited all this time for this big announcement, and we got Dan Quinn. When we could have got Dan Quinn a long time ago, but all the dominoes fell, and then it's like, all right, well, Dan Quinn is there. So Washington's trying to have the poker face, but it's not a good look. And this whole change has been great for the fan base, but it's like, all right, they starting to fumble things, so they got to get the offensive coordinator right. They also got to get the quarterback situation right in order to make this ship get back on the Josh Harris direction that it was on. And it's like, oh, yes, we got Harris. We got the process. So that was my first thought, like, dang, you know what? They waited a long time to get DQ, my guys. I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting time for the fan base to adjust to Dan Quinn being the coach. Glenn didn't want him. And Glenn trying to be diplomatic and politically correct. Glenn, you've been saying,
read this comment, Ray. Read this comment, Ray. Read this comment, though.
Just saw EB at Forestville Mall crying, wearing Seat Pleasant green pants. Hey, listen, bro.
I'm gonna tell you why. Yes, I didn't want. I'm gonna tell you why I didn't want Dan Quinn. I didn't want Dan Quinn because his defense faltered late in the playoff. In the second half of the season, the Dallas Cowboy defense faltered, and I didn't want that Dan Quinn. Now, I do know Dan Quinn will be a disciplinarian and a strong force. I did say that I wanted a veteran head coach. Now, I'll take a veteran head coach who has a strong presence with a good offensive coach, right? But you can't have, and I didn't want a young coach. I mentioned that. I said that on the podcast the other night, that a young coach coming to Washington wouldn't be good for your first-time job, because this organization needs structure. This organization needs somebody who's stern. They need somebody who's been around the NFL for a while. So Dan Quinn wasn't my first choice, but he's not the terrible choice. You know what I'm saying? So I did say that.
That's not quite a vote of confidence. But here's the thing, Glenn. When he is
the vote of confidence is that he's able to discipline, because this Dan Quinn hire reminds me of the Marty Schottenheimer hire. People didn't want Marty, but Marty came in and he did what he needed to do to get this organization in the right spot, and then Dan Snyder fired him. But that's a whole different story.
Perfect segue for me, because I was going to just highlight player development. I told you earlier, Wale, Deion Jones became a Pro Bowler with Dan Quinn. AJ Terrell was a rookie under Dan Quinn, and he's one of the better corners in the NFC South, I would say. He's a decent corner in the league. He's made his name in part because Dan Quinn is excellent at coaching. I said this also about Michael Parsons. As talented as he is, he had to be put in the right position. Dan Quinn is going to make your defense, like you all know, a lot better, and he's a player's coach. Not going to be redundant, Wale, I promise. But I think, again, it's not about that for me. It's about how it all went down, Glenn. That's all. It's actually about the process. You know, you had Bob Myers come in. Bob Myers on ESPN. It was flashy. It was sexy. We got the committee. we gonna make the LeBron type of decision announcement, and it was like Dan Quinn.
But that's not. But you got to look at this though, Ray. That's not the organization's fault. We can't blame the Washington. You can't blame the organization for this.
It's just the way the hand played out.
You played Ben McDonald because remember the organization was on their way to see. I mean Ben Johnson. Sorry.
Ben Johnson.
Yeah. The organization was on their way to see Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson changed this, not the Washington Commanders, not Josh Harris, not Myers, not Magic Johnson. The tide was turned because Ben Johnson wanted to stay in Detroit and not come to Washington. Not Washington interviewed Ben Johnson and said no, because Washington was on their way to see the guy they wanted. Johnson turned this around, so you can't blame the organization. You can't blame the organization. You got to blame Ben Johnson for saying, you know what, I'm taking my ball and going home. As we talk about wrestling references, he was Stone Cold Steve Austin when they wanted to face Brock Lesnar. It's too early and too soon, so I'm taking my ball and going home.
I'm loving it. Go ahead.
Hold on, real quick though. I never said I was blaming the organization. I'm talking about the fan perspective, because that's who you need to win back. And also, Glenn, the real thing is this, bro. It's not their fault. It's what they inherited. But at the same time, say that then. Say, you know what? We didn't get our first choices, so hey, Dan Quinn was the best option left. They're not gonna say that though.
Nobody says that. Nobody does that though, Ray. Like that's nobody gonna do that ever in life.
All Ray is saying is it reeks of the same mismanagement that has plagued this franchise forever.
I'm talking about the fans, not me.
The way they played out is because of circumstances, because those teams advanced so far in the playoffs. And then each one of those guys turned around and did not want to become a head coach anymore.
Yeah, which happens.
Which happens, but like it just sucks that it happened in this way, because the fan base was, like, as Ray has been hinting to and laughing about, they were trusting the process, and everything else had been sexy up to this point, right? Bob Myers coming on to consult. You got the ownership getting rid of Ron. You got Bob Myers coming on. You got Adam Peters. So you're looking at the fabric of the 49ers.
Got Magic Johnson too in the building.
Magic, it's coming. And then all of a sudden, I think the timing is not as bad as Ray is trying to make it. I think that DQ getting hired right after the season, after that last performance that Glenn has mentioned, I think that left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouth, because it showed how he overthought a situation for a team that could have been somewhere. Because, he kind of went against everything that he did all year in that playoff game and got exposed by Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers, because he settled in playing in zones rather than letting his guys play where they typically play.
I'm like this with that, like, I was laughing. That happens, and that's what I'm saying. Like, my man Ty's like, we everywhere, homie. But this is my thing. Like, with that is like, it's like, for instance, like we all, like I've been crucifying Dan Campbell, right, for going for whatever, but that don't make him a bad coach. Mm-hmm. He's still a good coach. He's still a really good coach. He just blew that situation. Same thing for Dan Quinn. Like, but Jordan Love has been hot.
No, he didn't blow it in my eyes. That's what got them there. But I
agree with Ray though. He didn't blow it. That's been him all year long.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, when you're coaching
different, if he had something
I agree with that. But when you coach, like, it's all right. For instance, like, I'm not going to talk about his. I'm not going to go in detail.
But come on, guys, Detroit had.
Thank you. Like, it's the playoffs. The playoffs are different regular season. Come on, man. I'll just say that the playoffs are different regular season.
But I told somebody this today. Real quick. If Dan Campbell called a great play, Dan Campbell called, said go for 4. Ben Johnson called a great play.
He called a great play.
How come nobody's blaming the receiver for dropping the football?
No. He's being blamed. That's not I'm not knocking like you can make. There's momentum. There are plays. There are high risk, low reward plays. And there's plays like, for instance, and I'm not getting into like whatever, but I'm just saying that he used his bravado. I felt like his bravado got the better of him. My point is, it's never gonna, regardless of where you go with it. My point is that doesn't make him a bad coach. At all. In public perception, that doesn't make him because Glenn, I could use the same argument about Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn could have put certain player in said good position, but they didn't execute. We're not looking at the player, we're looking at Dan Quinn because they didn't do a good job. So what I'm saying is, like, to my point is that what happened against Green Bay doesn't make Dan Quinn a bad coach, a bad defensive coach, a defensive mind. No. You know what I mean? People have bad games, they have bad performances. Ben Johnson isn't a bad coordinator because he didn't do nothing against the Baltimore Ravens. Like, so just because that last game resonates more with a lot of people. But at the end of the day, if you look at his body of work, so when Ray's describing him in Atlanta, what we've seen him do in Seattle, his body of work and what he's done in Dallas, his body of work tells you that he can coach defense.
More times than not.
More times than not. But yeah. I mean, like I said, I like the Dan Quinn hire. It wasn't my favorite. I guess that's what I'm saying is I like the Dan Quinn hire. It wasn't my favorite because, can we be honest? Dan Quinn is Dan Quinn is a quarter away from being a Super Bowl winning coach.
Yeah.
If Shanahan would have ran a freaking football,
exactly.
the Atlanta Falcons would have won the Super Bowl.
Sorry, Ray.
Which doesn't make Shanahan a bad coach.
Sorry, Ray.
It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, Ray. I'm sorry. I mean, you still recovered from that.
On, Ray.
But again,
Ray good, man. Ray good. Man. Ray got good moves. He got Raheem. Ray good, man. Raheem cool. Ray good.
Ray good. Hey, so with Dan Quinn, question for you guys, man. With Dan Quinn coming into here, we know Dan Quinn is the defensive guy, right? So I'm asking you and the listeners, who should Dan Quinn have as the OC for the Washington Commanders?
Mo gave you his answer.
Mo gave us his answer, but I want to hear from you and Wole. Well, who do you guys think should be the OC, and what's his staff should look like?
Ray, you want me to go first, or you want to go first?
Yeah, you go first, brother.
I want Clint Kubiak. I said this on the prior show, but I want Clint Kubiak. I just think that's a better situation, and it's something that Dan Quinn's familiar with. He had Kyle Shanahan when he was in Atlanta. Kubiak is a Shanahan disciple. Kubiak's father is the one who taught Kyle Shanahan. And Kubiak is now under Shanahan. So if anybody, to me, is under that tree and is drenched in that tree the most, it'd be somebody like a Clint Kubiak. I think you pair him up with DQ and the way he coaches defense. I think if you're trying to get that situation where we see with the Texans, if you're trying to get that type of situation where you can hit lightning in the bottle quickly, I think that combination gives you an opportunity to hit lightning in the bottle quickly. So I think ideally that would be the perfect situation. In terms of route to go with if you are Dan Quinn.
And it fits schematically, right? Because like they run a zone read type offense, you know what I mean? Like you don't need the biggest lineman, you don't need the best lineman, you just need movement, right? In the direction and whatnot. So there's a lot to like right there. And there's also a connection to Adam Peters because of the San Fran connection. So there's some familiarity there, right? It's going to bring some creativity back to this offense that's been yearning for a lot of creativity. Yes, it's going to suck that it's the third offensive coordinator in 3 years and all of that. But when you make wholesale changes like the Commanders have made this year, like it's going to be a period, right? And DQ, I'm pretty sure, he's bought himself probably through unless he blows this, he's bought himself his contract, whatever his contract length is, to figure this out, right? And then some more important decisions comes as to personnel, and then we'll see how it shapes up.
Is Brandon Staley off the market?
He better be. I mean, he better stay on the market.
Don't bring him here.
He better stay on the market.
I'm just saying this. Hold on, hear me out, because think about it. Arthur Smith has a job. Ken Dorsey's got a job. This is the year of second chances. Ron Rivera might be in Dallas. Hey,
go ahead, chill out, man.
being a head coach and being a coordinator are two different things.
You got to chill out, though. You're right, though. You got to chill out, though.
I'm just saying, for me.
No, you were talking right.
If we're going off of what Glenn is saying, I want experience. I'm going to take Brandon Staley. He worked with a great quarterback. And to y'all's point, all y'all said, well, sometimes the coach, he coaches, but the players don't do it right. So Brandon Staley has some good situations in LA that didn't play out because of some of the personnel decisions that
because of Staley,
ain't he a defensive dude though?
So
ain't he a defensive dude though? Brandon Staley's a defensive dude though.
Dude, the man went to the Super Bowl with the Rams. Looked like all where he got
he a defensive dude though. He a defensive
he's a
dude.
I'm sorry.
He's a defensive dude.
I'm sorry. He's not offensive coordinator. My bad.
He's a defensive dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it can't be him. Sorry for trying to be funny. I'm gonna go with Mo, and I think seriously though, Eric Bieniemy is under contract. I said this on somebody else's show earlier. He's still in the building. And with Dan Quinn, I think being a player's coach, I think it'll be the right mix for them to come together to build success.
To Glenn's point, you need disciplinarians in this organization. There's two. We already heard about EB the first week of training camp, and about the report. So like, you get a guy like Dan Quinn, and you get EB, and they can manage this team in a way that's different than it's been managed before. EB brings some continuity, especially with the quarterback, depending on what you want to do with that number 2 pick and all this kind of stuff. Like it gives you a lot more flexibility, and it gives you some semblance of some consistency. But Kubiak is too sexy not to look at.
Mo, you've been reading my notes, man, because that's what I was going to bring. It brings consistency to the organization. And Ray, you said it too, because again, if Eric Bieniemy was going to be out of Washington, they would have moved him out already.
He can get moved out though. Don't get twisted.
But no.
I like EB.
No. He can get moved out. But think the closer you get to the combine, the draft, they have not moved this guy yet. Within the next week or two, he's staying in Washington.
That's because Kubiak in the Super Bowl. That's why he's still.
But I'm just saying they're gonna have to pay him money because he's still in the contract.
Kubiak, look, like there's somebody in the Super Bowl. That's what. Look, man, I like EB. I'm an EB supporter. I'm just telling you the truth.
But I understand this too, though. But if guys are still in the Super Bowl, right, that are playing, they would take the Ben Johnson. Depends on how the Super Bowl plays out.
Maybe.
A lot of guys may take the Ben Johnson approach.
There's a difference.
I want to stay with this team and the organization. Yeah. People are not. I want to say this. Even though there's new ownership in Washington, and they say people like Washington, some people are not flocking to Washington as they think it is.
The only difference is that Clint Kubiak is cool with DQ. He's cool with DQ.
And he worked under Adam Peters before.
Yeah, that's the difference. There is a difference there. That's the difference.
Is that going to work from a timing perspective, considering you got to start preparing for the draft?
I would say this much: if DQ, this is my opinion. If they're willing to wait for Kubiak, that means something. That means that
absolutely
they talk
means
already.
Something.
Okay, so there's like an agreement in place.
Yeah. So I feel like my thing is, to your point, like it's because the Senior Bowl is here. The Senior Bowl is here. So if they're ready to make, if EB ain't named this week for real, then Kubiak probably told there's somebody that said like, all right,
and also. With the new hierarchy, like Adam Peters is going to make that decision. That's not a Dan Quinn decision. So it wouldn't matter who the OC is.
And he's coming from San Fran.
He's coming from San Fran. So they got
something already. And again, like I said, Dan Quinn. I mean, Dan Quinn's going to be able to talk about his staff with Peters because like that's how a GM and coach works. But they're not going to for staff. They're not going to wait that long unless something's happening.
Something's in the making.
Something's in the mix. And because for an assistant, that's different. Assistant's different. Like and especially when you're a defensive-minded coach, you don't have that much. You're not educated enough on the offensive side of football. You definitely want to get that going. And
then that number 2 pick is in a slot where like
there you go.
It's not going. Dan Quinn ain't making that pick. Dan Quinn can make the other 4 picks in the top 100, but that number 2 pick that's coming down to Adam Peters because. I'm not losing my job. I'm not losing my job over the coach that just got hired at the last day of the. I mean,
it doesn't matter who's going to coach who's going to be. Adam Peters is going to make that pick.
He's going to make that first.
I don't care if
he's making that pick.
That coach could have been Bill Belichick. It could have been Pete Carroll. Adam Peters is going to put his name on that first pick. And that's his organization. That's going to be him. Somebody mentioned Byron Leftwich. Byron Leftwich is out there for anybody to pick, right? He don't have a job, right?
I like Byron.
He ain't got no job.
He ain't got
no job right now. But again,
that's how they blackball that guy, man.
I know, right? It's true. It is because he ain't went with Brady because it's Brady because Brady had it's
indeed. And then the guy that replaced him this year, I think it's Canales or whatever.
Canales,
now he's the head coach in Carolina.
Yeah,
like off of making
1
Baker
year though, right?
Mayfield look
After
respectable.
1 year with him, yeah, no.
That's a whole different the Canales situation. That's a whole different. That's David Tepper's.
But dude, I ain't gonna hold you. But dude had. I mean, you're right. But dude, like the last you see his those last 3 quarterbacks is their stats with him. But I don't think dude like they're vicious, but his stats are all right though.
But that's Tepper's.
He turned around Geno, right? He's the one that turned around Geno.
Yeah. It's impressive. I will hold you. It is impressive though.
Yeah.
But I think Byron. But I think Byron deserves a shot though. I agree with that though too.
Kubiak got Woolworth and Bowie Brown.
Hey yo, man, dude, he geeking.
Yo, hey, he might have been. They all gonna be wearing camouflage bodysuits on the Army Day at the FedEx Field, right?
So some of the comments that were pretty frequent and I should say trending on social media was just win.
Just win.
Just win.
So at this point, all this discussion is great. It's great for content. It's good that now you can kind of see where this organization is moving. But at the end of the day, gotta win. And Ron Rivera, everybody stole his line. Do your job. The 49ers, that's how they won. That's how they won the NFC Championship. Hey, go out there and do your job.
Do your job. But you know, Mo said something a while back at the beginning of this thing. It's the process. I think not getting Ben Johnson is part of the project. Is part of the process, right? Not getting who you want is part of the process. So what you got to get here, with Dan Quinn is setting this up, and the Commanders are setting it up for this team to be relevant in the NFC East. Let's be honest. The Philadelphia Eagles has taken a step back.
Yep.
Right? The Philadelphia Eagles, if you look what they did for the last 10 games of the season, or 7-8 games, the Philadelphia Eagles have come back to earth, right? The Dallas Cowboys have just lost their defensive coordinator, right? They have come back to earth. The New York Giants, we don't know.
You don't got to apologize for anything, brother.
Everything changes in a dime, man, every year. I like their coach, though. The Giants got a good coach. But go ahead, continue, though.
Everything has changed with the Giants. So if you really look at it,
going to be bad or good next year.
Right. If you really look at it with this hire, this, and I'm not saying it because I'm a Commanders fan, anything like this. This division is pretty much wide open as you talk about it today. Let's not count the Philadelphia Eagles as 100% locked. Let's not count the Dallas Cowboys as 100% locked. Because let's go. Mike McCarthy's still on the hot seat. You lost your defensive coordinator. Who's the next guy to come in? And y'all said it earlier. You said it earlier that Dan Quinn's system helped the cornerbacks tremendously. What got burnt and what got messed up in the playoff game, right? Michael Parsons has to come here and do his thing. He's still gonna be where he at. Free agency is gonna be different. I'm saying that the NFC East is not gonna be NFC East least like it was years ago when everybody was just in the mix. But it's kind of open a little bit now. It could be a 3-team race if the Washington defense gets that much better and the offense maintain what they did last year.
When you don't win a division game, I don't think you can have that perspective. You got work. You got to work with that. I'm sorry.
I ain't gonna hold you. That's what I'm saying.
You can't go over in the division. Like, well, it's wide open. No, it ain't. Not for you. It ain't.
But remember, it's not. You got to realize this. It's not the same division that it was, and it's not the same team nor the same coaching staff. This team quit. This team quit after the Bears game. Let's not forget that this team quit on Ron Rivera after week 4. Ron Rivera quit on himself after week 4 because he's the one who said in the interview, that's what turned around. That's what our season's downhill already. After
he did say that. No, he did say that. So I'll add this. Like, so for me, I don't really have that type of perspective. My perspective is like teams are weaker. I'm all about proving. You got to prove it. I got to see what you do. So for me to go out there and say that right now, I can't because. To me, at the end of the day, regardless, the Eagles, because of what they did to at the end of the season, you can say Jalen Hurts was hurt. He was injured throughout that. He was injured towards the end of the year. The defense didn't play the same, but they're still a talented bunch. Like I'm not gonna. AJ Brown didn't play that game against Tampa. So they're still a talented bunch within their unit. The Cowboys are. I mean, I hate the Cowboys, but they're still talented. Yeah, they're losing Dan Quinn, but they're still a talented bunch. So it's up to really at the end of the day, like Ray said, they didn't win any division games. It's all about what this team does in the offseason, who they draft, the coaching staff, and then I feel like we can better assess if it's wide open for the Commanders. But at this particular point in time, we can only go off of what we've seen the last, in terms of what we've seen on paper. And on paper right now, those two teams are far ahead of the Washington at the moment. Not to say that Washington can't be better than them, but at the moment they're far above Washington. The Giants are above Washington right now at the moment. That's all I can go off of what I've seen recently. And the Giants beat Washington twice. They were in at a particular point in time in playoff contention, even with their struggles. They were in playoff contention for a little bit in the season. So it's all for us. For any Washington fan, you got to see what they do in the offseason. They got to see what in the draft, free agency, and in the staff. Then we can better assess and say, it's wide open. And then we got to see him in training camp. And then we got to see him in preseason. So, I ain't going to go out here and tell you because I can't say I trust what this team is going to do in free agency in the draft. We have to see what they do. Because a lot of people are just going off Adam Peters. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. Let's see.
You can't go but I'm back to my point is you can't go nothing but up. You ain't going 0 and whatever in the division 2 years in a row. So
you can. I mean, you can.
We thought it couldn't get worse, Glenn. It got worse as the season.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. I thought you keep saying that, Glenn. I ain't think it was gonna get worse during the season. It did.
Oh, we knew it was gonna get worse.
I did not. No, I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not.
After the Buffalo game, I said you're not gonna get no worse than that. I'm on YouTube saying that. It's a short out there. I said
facts.
Look, after they got rid of Chase and they got rid of Montez, I went on record saying, you know what, this team may not win a game. Did I not win? May not win another game. I said that. I said this team may not win another game, right? And so I knew it could get worse. But my thing is, you can't go 0 for 2 years. And here's a question for you guys: What is a successful season for Dan? What does a successful season look like? For
great
Dan
question.
Quinn? What does a successful
season
good
question? That's an excellent
look like
question.
For Dan Quinn?
That's an excellent question.
Hey, I think 9-8 is a successful year. I really do.
You high. That's a high win total. Damn, like you think you'll turn around that quickly? That's turning around basically.
You mentioned Dan Campbell. You talked about his first year in Detroit. They didn't make the playoffs. But
they struggled the first year. The second year was like that. His second year was like that.
Right. If you go 9-8 next season after 4-13,
that's vicious.
I think that's a great turnaround.
No, that's vicious. Like that's vicious if he does that. I'm not even.
That's like coach of the year. That's like coach
of
the year.
Real talk. Like I'm gonna keep it a buck. Real talk. That's coach of the year.
Man, the standards are so low. It's another discussion we talked about earlier. Restoring the culture of what it used to be, man, to where 9-8 shouldn't be no daggone coach of the year, but here it is because the culture's so bad.
No, I think for any coach that takes over a bad team is like that. Real talk.
That's true.
That's not a thing.
Not that I'm arguing. No, I ain't got time to debate over the Commanders.
I think you forget, Ray. They earned the second pick of the draft. Like they earned it. Like it wasn't given. It wasn't by trade. They
earned that joint. Like, they earned that joint.
They're legitimately the first. They're legitimate. We could say legitimately they're the worst team in football because by record and draft positioning because the Chicago only has the first pick because of Carolina.
We know.
Yes.
So,
but I think that's an insult though because Carolina was the worst team last year. Period. It was
by far they were the worst team.
But it goes so much further than wins. It goes so much further than wins and losses. We know that. We know it's bigger than wins and losses. But Glenn, again, it is a great question because there are still a lot of fans that are our age and older who haven't forgotten about the past. And 9-8, 9 wins is not acceptable around here for some people still to this day. Regardless of what the team has looked like under Dan Snyder to now, it still is not acceptable. Winning football, again, look up 95. They don't win that many games to go to playoffs. They always are 10 and above.
I mean,
I will say this though. Go ahead, Mo. Go.
I'm just saying, from where we sit right now, how this team is constructed. Like the team.
All right. I know.
You read the comment, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think the team just being formidable. The team, like being in one-score games and with a chance to win and all. I think that brings. Some kind of excitement because, like, from this point right here, like Glenn said, it has to go up, right? Like, or hopefully it goes up. Like, we're unsure. We have to let a lot of things play out, so everything is to be determined.
But go to your point real quick, Mo. If it doesn't go up, it goes back to what Ray said earlier. That means this organization, Josh Harris and his group, didn't do a great job. If it doesn't go up, that means Dan Quinn wasn't a good hire. That means Adam Peters did. So you didn't put the right people in place because guess what? Josh Harris in this organization, in this group, they're looking for a turnaround. He said in his press conference, they're looking for a turnaround like now. It ain't. It is not in 2 years from now. So it has to go. You're putting the people in place for this team to go up now. So it's. But hold up.
Rough,
but all right, going up for the Washington Commanders organization. Ray said 9-8. 9-8 is going up, right? This team is going up, and I think this 9-8 is going up, and the 9 wins they got to have some key wins in this thing too, divisional wins, right? You can't win 9 games and not get a divisional win. I'm being honest, you know what I'm saying? Because so you have to go up. You have to, and you mentioned earlier, discipline. Just by the fact that as you have a new voice to come in the house, free agency is going to be a big thing. The draft is going to be a big thing to see how they put people in place. The $90 million is going to be a big thing. Who can they bring to Washington to help this thing turn around? All right, because they can turn it around and be in a conversation like Detroit did within 2 or 3 years if they're the right motivational person in place. And I think Dan Quinn could be that guy.
Glenn, you just said 2 years is not the case. You said it has to be next year, and I'm saying
no, I didn't say it had to be next year. I said it has to be
brother.
I said it has to be a quick turnaround quick turnaround for this organization. Let's be honest. This organization has last year they won 4 games, right? 4 games. So if you win 5. You win 5. That's a process, right? You win 6. We talk about metrics. All you have to do is win more than 4 games, and it's a successful season.
I want to read something that Marcus put out there, and I'm asking Marcus to answer it too, and I'm ask folks to answer it here as well. Marcus put out there, I think the way Adam Peters passed is he will trade back and get more picks. Marcus, if that's the case, who would you want them to draft if they trade back, or who would you want them to trade with? And I'll ask y'all the same question: who, if they were to trade back, what's a good landing spot to trade back in?
Hey, Atlanta will take it. I'm telling you,
that, of course.
Atlanta needs a quarterback in the worst way. We had Taylor Heineke. Y'all all know about that guy. And we can all bond in our post Heineke eras. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Like,
we all bond. Yeah, I know.
We can hang out. I'll get a virgin drink. Glenn, you will too. Wole, you can drink for all 3 of us. You know, join the sober club, bro. But when you talk about Heineke can push you back to alcohol. So anyway, getting back to my point, Atlanta's a perfect trade partner. I really believe that regardless of my fandom, I think that Atlanta's looking to move up, and they're in a position where you can still potentially get your tackle or your quarterback. I'm not necessarily the biggest Bo Nix fan personally, but some guys out there who are Commanders fans are. He's one.
I don't know why they gotta stop doing that, man.
I know, but same thing with Penix. You don't like the old guys. You don't like the.
Has he been sticking? Has he?
But Chris Winkie,
he stunk it up the other day at the Senior Bowl.
Chris Winkie was my man back in the day. Well, you know, he was seasoned.
He's like 30 years old too.
But that's what I'm saying. And he was literally 30 though. But
he was literally 30. I know. He was literally 30.
Buying drinks for everybody on the team.
But Wole is biased though, because he was a Charlie Ward dude. You know what I'm saying?
I love Charlie Ward.
He was a Charlie Ward guy. You know, Charlie Ward was an NFL quarterback at the time. He threw a bunch of picks.
Hey, don't throw shade. Go ahead, continue.
I do think you still want to stay in the top 10 if you do trade back. You don't want to go further than that, because that, to me, that's now you are pulling around if you go somewhere in like that. I think Mo called it no man's land. You like 15th in the draft. Nah, because the offensive line needs to be fixed. People forgetting that. So if you do get a tackle, I wouldn't be mad. The fan base would be pissed though, but I wouldn't be mad though personally, because you got like Kirk Cousins that could still potentially sign here again. Under Dan Quinn and be formidable while you figure out your young quarterback in the future.
Glenn, who did I say was the smart football pick?
Penix.
No, the smart football pick is
the tackle.
The Nigerian kid. I know we
Yeah.
Wole, if I get that,
that's what I've been saying. That's the smart pick. That's the smart pick.
Me and Wole talked about that a couple of weeks. We talked about that before he went on his trip to Nigeria. That he would be.
That's the smart pick.
He's the best pick. He's the best pick for if you really want.
He's the safest one. He helps the team immediately. You don't have to deal with no learning a system. No.
And then you're in a defense. And then you're in a division with them very good pass rushers. Like
Indeed.
This is.
You have to trust Sam Howell again as your starting quarterback.
You don't. You can pick somebody up in free agency. You can
if you want to. You don't have to. I'm not against Sam Howell. I'm not against Sam, but Ray's right.
Jacoby Brissett. that's the case, keep Jacoby.
Okay, then you keep Jacoby.
That's fine. I mean, look at the
Glenn,
Colts.
let me
The
put a
Colts
name
were
out there,
game
Glenn.
out with Gardner Minshew.
Let me put
Yes.
a name out there,
Right.
Glenn. People gonna hate this name, but it has San Francisco ties. It knows the offense.
Garoppolo.
Garoppolo.
No,
Now
sir.
you trolling.
No, sir. Mo, you
Now
take
you
him.
trolling like I don't know what. Now you trolling.
Go ahead, y'all can take him.
You trolling.
Hey,
Mo.
get Trubisky while you at it. Stop, Mo.
Hey man,
Now
Mo,
you trolling. I
hey,
mean,
guess what?
It's a common sense troll because it makes sense, but you trolling like you trolling. Like
Garoppolo is better than
Wole, hear me out, Wole. Hear me out,
better than
Wole.
Danny DeVito you got in New York.
Hey man, we gonna keep hours over here, okay? Listen, man.
Hey,
Wole,
yeah.
you got Adam Peters, you got Dan Quinn, right? If you keep EB and you keep Sam Howell, right? Garoppolo comes, he's the backup. He teaches the young boy.
Nah, you got Brissett in the building. He's
He
right.
can
You got Brissett in
play.
the building.
He can play if need be. I'm just saying. Teaching
No,
the
look,
offense.
Yep.
I'm not arguing. Todd,
Thank you, Taj. Thank you, Taj.
Taj.
And that's to
Yeah.
your point. That's
Yeah.
to your point, Mo.
Yeah.
Real talk.
Yeah.
I'm saying you guys haven't missed on an offensive lineman in the first round. Not a notable one. Sheriff was really good. Trent.
Well, I mean, it
Brissett.
counters your point. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he counters your point, but
I'm sorry. It counters your point.
he counter. But still, I mean, quarterback like. But if you look what Trent is doing with Sanford. You know what I'm saying? Sanford don't have an elite quarterback. That counts, and they're still.
They keep him upright.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good point.
Quarterback.
See, Todd, to me, Taj represents the majority of the fan base that
No,
they
it's
do
true.
not.
I mean,
they
it's a good
want
point.
they want a quarterback. They
Everybody
want
wants
the
a
face.
quarterback. I'm not knocking it. They want a
Yeah.
quarterback. I'm not knocking it. George said the fans won't wear Sam Howell being they wouldn't want Sam Howell being the quarterback, being the starter next year after the final 7 weeks. I agree.
I know.
Yeah, I agree.
But like you gotta do things for the organization.
You gotta do things the best for you, like what you
Yes,
think, not
and
with
not
the fans.
What
The
about
fans
Fans
don't
are
matter.
fickle.
What
The
about
fans
Baker?
don't matter.
What
The
about
same
Baker?
fans want
Very
EB.
fickle.
The same fans want EB, and they don't like him anymore. So it's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
That don't matter.
Fans
What-
are fickle, man.
Yeah,
What you
Fans
think
are
about
fickle.
Baker,
Process.
Glenn?
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
I don't hate Baker.
Baker's not leaving, man. Baker about
He's
to
not
get
leaving.
$40 million.
But I say, yeah, but he's not leaving Tampa Bay. So I
You don't think
Baker
so?
about to get 40.
I don't think they're gonna pay him. I don't.
Oh yeah, I
but
think they're
I
gonna
mean,
pay
I'm
him.
not
I
arguing
think they're
that.
gonna pay him.
I
Oh,
don't
well,
think he-
Listen, man.
That's a
Take
lot
it
of
from-
money.
I think they're gonna
Take
pay
it
him.
from the
Oh,
Pay Daniel Jones Too
perspective,
Money
yeah.
fan club. Daniel Jones
Okay.
has created the floor. Okay, Daniel Jones has created the floor. $40 million is the
I
floor.
wasn't.
Okay,
I wasn't even thinking about it like that.
I'm the leader of the fan club that led to this. When you mess around and you win a playoff game and you're not
Whoa!
supposed
Look
to,
at what
you
Marcus
can't go
just said.
backwards.
Look at what Marcus just said.
Left
One
tackle.
franchise left tackle. I'm out with it. I'm with it.
Here's the other name. Here's the other name that you can throw out there when you talk about free agent quarterbacks,
That's
right?
funny as I don't know what, man.
You talk about quarterbacks, and you can still get a
That's
decent
funny.
quarterback. You still can get a decent quarterback who has a name and a left tackle.
Josh Dobbs. Say no.
That's
No.
trifling.
But
That's right.
Go ahead, bro. Sorry.
he is a rocket scientist, right? I mean, he's a smart kid, but you still got to think about Russell Wilson. Let's be honest. You still, I'm not saying that's what he wants to come. He doesn't want to come to DC. Let's be
I
honest.
don't want him either.
I don't want him.
I
I don't want him. That marriage and
Terry is gone. If you do that, Terry is gone. Because he misses wide open people that
Dog, he is.
a vision impaired person can see. Because
But
I just don't know
does.
what's. Yeah, I don't like
But
Russell
that's
Wilson at this stage of his career.
this
I
stage-
just
You thought Sam Howell can't see people who open.
But that's the question though. That's the question that Adam Peters, Dan Quinn has to come up with in the next couple of weeks. Do you want the left tackle? Do you want to go to quarterback? Is Caleb Williams not miss?
This man got to stop.
No, don't bring Caleb. Don't bring Caleb here.
Well,
At that height with this line, don't do it to him.
Is
please.
Drake made a guy? I'm not a Jaden Daniels fan. Mo's a big Jaden Daniels fan.
What's wrong?
No,
Hey,
I like Jaden
Jaden
Daniels.
Daniels?
I like Jaden Daniels.
I like. I'm not a Jaden Daniels fan for this. For the
Glenn, I thought you were a Jaden Daniels guy.
I like Jaden. I like Jaden Daniels. I just don't like him in Washington.
Oh, okay.
I
Same thing with
respect
Caleb.
I respect that.
I like Jaden Daniels. I just don't like him in Washington.
Hey, I respect that. I respect that too.
If the Commanders are going to go quarterback, it's going to be Drake May. He's prototypical, 6'4", 230. When that kid puts on shorts and a t-shirt in the next couple of weeks and does that dumb old quarterback rollout thing that everybody does at their little pro day now and throws it 70 yards and hits the back power line, the media is gonna go crazy, and he can move, and he can move.
He can move. I know everybody act like he can't move. He can move. That's why be killing
move.
me. He can move. That's why I don't be like, folks be. Oh my god.
So, like if Drake May, if you're going to go quarterback, Drake May's sitting right there. There's no point in losing assets to get a quarterback when he's right there. They said this kid is something. I read something that said he's somewhere between Andrew Luck and Justin
Herbert. I know.
If he's that, if he's anything in between that, Jesus Christ.
And I'm gonna tell you, if you
imagine being the GM, if that is true, imagine being the GM that passed up on him 5 years from now.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna say what, because this is what I saw too. I'm not liking this rumor.
No.
Rumors out there, Chip Kelly for OC. Please don't hire. I'm with you, Dion. I'm seeing this stuff. Dan Quinn would already lose a job. He should already lose a job if this happens. He should lose a job like
Y'all gonna run.
We're gonna see LaShawn McCoy
plays in 6 minutes.
Shady's gonna come out at halftime and hit him in the knee with a club or something like that.
Dion put out there also get good offensive line in free agency. We have enough. You can't get a left tackle though, Dion. You ain't gonna get a left tackle.
Not a free agency.
Not a left tackle. You don't get them. They don't let them go.
No,
that's
the
only thing I gotta tell you. They won't let them dudes go. George, wait, we read this already? I don't know. I think so. George said, yeah, but you can't justify passing on Caleb, Drake May, or Jaden Daniels to keep Sam Howell at the starter. Not after the second half
Not
of the
at
season.
all.
I argue on that.
But you can get a tackle. There's 2 tackles out there from New England that will be free agents, right? You got Trent Brown that's out there that will be a free agent. He's highly ranked. I think he's ranked number 22 as a top as a left tackle you could get.
Leno was true. Leno was like all right too, rated, and you see what happens. I'm just saying, like, I'd rather have a bookend, a real one. Like, there's a difference of having a guy and a real one. Like, I want a real one.
You want an athletic one that's not beat up.
A real
that's not
one.
Beat up. That's going to cost. That's going to cost. Be cost efficient and all that.
There's a reason why, like, Kyle made that when Kyle got Trent, the whole thing changed with that offense. Like, it was a different offense, and you see the difference when Trent's not playing, when Trent is playing.
Mm-hmm.
And they run and like to Mo's point, their scheme is more lenient with O-linemen, like smaller dudes, and they just moving, so it's different. But when you got a guy like that in that offensive line,
you got a
it's
Hall
different.
Of Fame silverback.
Yeah, it's just different, man. It's different, and especially when we talk about having an offense where, like, we talked about having like that bookend and an offense you want to have, can play in any season. You know what I mean? Like, having one of them dudes, man, it's essential. I'm sorry, essential.
I think to the question earlier when we were talking about what's a successful season, right? Like, I don't think there's a number on the wins. I think the style of play just has to look different.
I agree. And they got to be competitive.
Cannot come out next year getting sacked heavily. Cannot come out next year getting beat deep. Like, that's the kind of stuff that has to change. I think the fan base will live with any result in between that, outside of those 2 things repeating itself.
Mo, with that being said, and you guys, is Brian Robinson the starter next year, running back?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Brian Robinson showed me he can catch the ball more than I thought, and he had been saying that he could catch the ball. They didn't throw it to him in Alabama or whatnot. So, like, I think there's value there. I think you go get a change of pace back to go.
You got to get another one. Got to get another one. Yeah, got to get another one. Yeah.
So Rodriguez can't be that guy.
Nah, he's a physical runner. You need a changer. You need a shifty dude.
Because Brian Robinson is what he is. Brian Robinson is. He's
north and south.
He's north and south, which is good, which works.
He's a tone setter.
Yeah.
I asked that question purposely because, again, if you shore up the offensive line, you got your running back in place already, then it makes things a lot easier in terms of game planning, and it also make your offseason much easier. But there were some talk
here. We can't shorten up the offensive line. This offensive line is not one player away. This offensive line needs 3 new linemen.
Yeah, you need a center.
They need 3 new linemen. Sam Cosmi is the only person that can come back.
But you gotta understand this. They're not gonna get all that in the draft. Let's be honest, right?
But with the money
you got the kid. So all right, so
money
you break it down.
Free agency.
You got Stromberg. Okay, so I'm gonna be real. Like, so you got Stromberg, who they like, who was the best tackle, one of the best offensive linemen in the SEC, but he was hurt most of the year. So there's a guy that's gonna probably try to. I think he's gonna have to play center. Yeah, and play in center. So I do think he'll probably. So he'll be a guy to try out. Yeah, one of the possible. But I'm with Mo. Like, you still need a left tackle. You need a right tackle.
You need a linebacker.
You need a guard.
You do need a linebacker, but you can get that.
You
You have
linebacker.
5 picks in the top 100.
But I do think if you get a left tackle, so to what I'm saying is, if with the draft and the second round picks they do have, you can fix your off if you want to. Because Seattle did a couple years. They went offensive line heavy in the draft, and they fixed their own line in one season.
They went Walter Cross and then another kid.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Round.
Yes, off the rip. So what you can do is you can draft if you want to. Now this is like they can probably go quarterback. You get a line. You get a line, offensive line in the first. The offensive line in the second. Your O-line is pretty much set. It's fixed. Well, it should be fixed if you do your scouting correctly. Then you can, and we all know you can get guards in the third, fourth round. That's not a first round, second round.
Yep.
You can get guard in the fourth, fifth. So if you do your job correctly, yes, you do your job correctly, you can fix your O-line. But we know they're going quarterback, so that defeats the purpose. But I'm just saying, if you wanted to, you could do it.
Here's one thing that's guaranteed based on what you guys are saying, and you now got Peters and Quinn in place. With Rivera gone, the drafting is going to be much better.
It should be way better.
It ain't going to be no Cameron Cheeseman getting drafted. Yeah. It's not going to be any head scratches like what?
They need defense too.
Wole, if you want me, I can give you the plan. I can give you the plan for the team.
Go ahead.
Within the 5 picks, within those first 5 picks, you need a starting offensive lineman.
Facts.
You need a starting linebacker.
Facts.
Right.
Starting.
You need a scat back. You need a scat back. Yeah. Within those first 5 picks, like the last one, maybe you need a scat back. You need a DN.
Yeah.
And you need an interior lineman in those first 5 picks.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
That's the first 5 picks. I don't know who the players are, but that got to be the first 5 picks.
My man Maury says the line ain't as bad as everyone thinks. What's most important is the coaching and player development.
I kind of agree with that. I'm going to tell you why I kind of agree with that. If you look towards the end of the season, that line was getting better once they shuffled everything around. When they made that comment, when they shuffled things around, the running game went up a little bit. Protection got a little bit better. I think you have the right.
Wole having heart palpitations.
Wole, you can have heart palpitations, but the sacks went. The sacks went down. The sacks went down.
Yeah.
When they started to shift the line around. So when they shifted around.
But we need this too. We need a tight end. But go ahead.
But you got 3 of them though. That's why
we need a tight end. No. We need tight end.
You got 3 of them on the roster.
No. They can go. I know I said they can go. They need tight end.
Logan's gone anyway.
Logan need to go. Like Logan ain't enough.
Right? Yeah, Logan's gone because they don't want to pay Logan the money they got to pay him.
No, because Logan don't need to be here. I know Logan don't need to be here. He don't need to be here.
Antonio Gibson is gone, but we're going to do a whole different show on who's going and who's going to stay.
Yeah.
Right? Who should be gone? Right? But again, this team needs a lot. But the key aspect is and I think somebody said it. The OC is important, right? Whatever offensive coordinator we get is going to be the most important thing.
Yeah, Todd, that's not a bad idea, honestly.
Trade pick 6? What pick 6? What do you mean?
No, he's calling Sam Howell pick 6 thrower.
That's true.
Pick 6 Sam. He said trade.
My bad. I'm slow. Damn, you dirty as I don't know where to.
He called pick 6 Sam.
And Wole, that's why I paused. You do need a tight end, but I was looking at, what you want an inline tight end or you want a hybrid?
Man, I want somebody who's not Logan Thomas, who doesn't look robotic running.
I think to support this offensive line, you need an inline tight end that can have some receiving ability also. If you go receiver type tight end, you're going to run into the same problem again, is what I think.
But who's your offensive coordinator? All this makes
like a Laporta. I want like a Laporta. That's what I want.
But you got that's a high investment. That's like the kid from Texas. The kid from Texas gonna be a second round tight end. Guys like that.
I get him, and I get him.
He a dog. He a dog.
I get him.
Number 0.
I know. We can go. Go ahead, though.
And he can block.
Yes, and he can block. Go ahead, Glenn.
Your offensive coordinator makes the difference. All this conversation we're having depends on who the offensive. Depends on who the offensive coordinator is, right? Some offensive if we get the offensive coordinator, if you get to stay with EB, you're gonna have one scheme. You're gonna get a tight end, right? You get another offensive coordinator. If you get Kubiak, right? If you get Kubiak, what's kind of if you get Kubiak, what? If you get Kubiak, okay, Wole, you want Kubiak, right? So if you get Kubiak as your offensive coordinator,
that means you're drafting Drake May.
How's that conversation going on draft day?
Yes,
with QB?
that's Drake
Okay.
May, buddy.
You
Okay,
drafting Drake
but
May
yeah,
because
so
he
you
played a
get-
pro style offense. If you take
But you-
Kubiak.
But if you're getting Drake May, if you're not getting the offensive lineman that we just been talking about for the last 2
No,
minutes.
because but to Mo's point though, this is why it works though. This is why it works. Because we've seen it here in DC. When you have a Shanny offense, you can mask that offensive line. That's what they do. They mask, even with the Texans, they mask that offensive line. That Texas offensive line ain't the greatest,
Y'all
for
just
real.
looked at me.
But
Y'all
they
just looked at me
mask
funny.
because
Y'all just
they
looked at
run
me
play
funny when I said
action. Because they run play action and they mask they bootleg. They do all this stuff.
They
to
got
mask
Laramie
the ball.
Tunsil. That's about
Yeah,
it.
that's it. For real. That's
No,
all
they looked at you funny because you said the offensive line got better at the end of last season. I think that's why he
Yeah, I
looked
don't
at you
think they
funny.
better.
So I didn't use the word mask. They masked the offensive line in the second half of the
That's
season.
trash.
Okay,
Offensive
so
line-
hold on.
let me fix the statement up.
They masked the offensive line in the second
Let me
half of the
fix the
season.
statement
So
up. I
so the
wanna
watch.
give everybody fair. I
So
wanna be fair to
Sam
everybody.
Howell didn't break the record of getting
Yeah,
sacked.
no. I'm with you. I want to make sure everybody cool with it. All I'm saying is that what I mean mass is like system. They're not telling them drop back, or do a seven step drop back and wait and air it out. When you run that Shanahan system, there's a bunch of stuff to mask what
And
a bad
quick.
line is.
The ball
Like,
coming out quick.
yeah, like
A
Charles
lot
Leno
of
could probably be
movement.
all
They
right.
move in the
Leno could
pocket.
probably be Leno could be all right probably, but he's still trash. But he
Right.
could be all right in the Kyle Shanahan system. So with Wiley may be all right in it.
But you will
he still
also
suck.
just because the number one pick wouldn't be the tackle, you would still bring in some offensive line.
Yeah, exactly. You get a second rounder who be better. Yeah,
And then
you
like
be
you get
better.
I think if this team can show
teaches yoga classes in the Norton where hey yo, chill out.
like if this team can shore up the guard to guard position, if they can shore up the guard to guard position, it's gonna make a lot of things easier for B-Rob. B-Rob is a slow starter in terms of his getup, right? So like you gotta give him a lane. Once
TJ
he gets a
Duckett.
lane, we've seen that he can run well.
He's not TJ Duckett, bro. Don't insult that man like that. But here's the thing, though.
Who ain't
It
TJ
all-
Duckett?
Brian Robinson. It all comes down to who the OC is. That's what I'm getting from y'all and those who are making the comments. That's what Glenn was trying to make that point.
Yeah,
We
Lucas
won't
better.
know. We won't
Lucas
know
better than
until
this guy.
that decision is made. And if it's EB, then that's gonna really throw fans for an entire loop.
They're
They're gonna think it's gonna be the
That's all.
same as last year. Watch what I tell you.
Marcus said if we draft Drake May, they can trade up late first round or second round for Jordan Morgan or Chris Paul's brother. Yeah, Chris Paul, Patrick Paul, brother who is a left tackle, and Sam Howell can play in the system. I do like he is better than Chris Paul's brother. I think he's a second round. He's portrayed. I think he's a second rounder. He's in the Senior Bowl right now. I think he's looking good. I think people are liking
Chris
him right
Paul,
now. Like,
the basketball player?
no, Chris Paul who plays for the Commanders.
Oh.
The guard, the big.
Oh, okay. I'm like, huh?
Actually, they're Nigerian too. That's what's up. They're Nigerian. Don't know why they use the name Paul, but they're Nigerian.
So is Aneem Dankwa.
I know.
Howard University, baby.
Howard University.
6'8"
I know
lineman,
he is.
bro.
No, it's okay. I know who he is. I know exactly who he is.
That ain't no second rounder though, Ray. I love me an HBCU player too. Relax, brother. We said they gotta hit all 5. They gotta hit at least 4 out of the 5. Come on.
All right. George put out this. George put out. We've got one lineman who's a long-term solution, and that's Cosme. And even if that's a question with injuries, he just get injured. Fix the offensive line will take at least 2 drafts and 2 free agency.
Okay, now George is bringing us back to earth in terms of trusting the process. This is going to take a minute. I don't care what Josh Harris says in terms of this has to be quick. Quick is 3 years or less. Yeah.
That's why when you said 9 wins early, I was like, where you going to see 9 wins?
No. He asked me what does a successful season look like next year. I said 9 wins. To me, you got to be over 500 to please his fan base. I know
Ray's right about that.
I don't think a 7-win team is going, even if they
look
good.
Talking about, these are 2 different. To Ray, I agree. That's 2 different statements. 2 different categories. You're right though, Ray. I think if you're talking about impressing, making the fan base, you're right.
True.
I think, and to be honest with you, we're looking and dissecting the situation.
Yep.
Like what Mo said, if they look competitive and they play good football, forget them. Like if they're close in every game, I think to me that's progress.
I totally agree
You know
with
what I'm
that.
saying?
Great
Without putting the
progress.
win number on. I agree with Mo. I agree with both people, with both of y'all.
No, and I understand that. I understand that perspective, man. But I'm thinking from like Josh Harris's point of view. I think he'll agree with Mo because he's an analytics dude. I think he'll be totally cool with it. Magic Johnson. Most of his tweets was, "We ain't compete today." So
yeah, for real, yeah.
Just competing will make a huge difference. Dan Quinn is that guy though, man. In terms of getting players motivated, it's gonna be like night and day from Ron, bro. And he's on the sideline too.
Everybody should be happy if we're not getting blown out. I don't know.
But this goes to my question is.
But you can't lose it to DeVito.
No, you can't.
I know. DeVito.
This goes to my next question. This goes to my next question to you guys. My question to you guys is what identity is Dan Quinn going to bring to this football team?
Oh, it's tough nose, man. I think Ray's the best to answer that question, to be honest with you, because he had him on.
Yeah, I can't say tough nose. I mean, Mike Smith was the coach before him, and Atlanta was known as soft. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Dan Quinn changed that sentiment about the squad. So I can't say it's going to be tough nose. I can say, though, that like somebody said in a broadcast, I don't know who it was, maybe Tony Romo, that defense still wins championships. And with a squad that you thought for the last 2 to 3 years was going to have a top tier defense, Dan Quinn is going to change this team around to where you're going to be in the top 10 defensively. You're not going to give up a lot of points, and you're going to create turnovers. Most importantly, Dallas created so many turnovers. They were fun to watch. They gave up a lot of yards at times, but they were fun to watch because you knew they were going to get pick sixes. They were going to get sack fumbles. Now, that's why personnel is so important too, because Dallas has some guys, of course, to make that happen. But Dan Quinn was the architect of that, man, because right before Dan Quinn got there, of course, Dallas defense is terrible.
The Commanders got players too, though, Ray. The Commanders,
they do. They 100% do.
Like when you look at the guys that are left, like he can get a lot out of them with a Seattle-style defense, like that Atlanta-style defense.
That's gonna be the calling card right there. They're gonna be a defensive team. Like you're gonna now fear.
You got to get a backer. You're gonna
fear FedEx Field finally. Because you're gonna know that when you come, you got to make sure that you stop the Commanders' offense. Because if you don't, that defense is gonna come to play every week.
That defense is gonna stop you, for sure.
So that's gonna be his calling card because that didn't work out in Atlanta for different reasons, and that was more so Dimitrov's fault. But they got to the Super Bowl mainly because the offense was that good. But at the same time, if you look at the rest of his body of work, he turns around defense. He did okay in Atlanta, but his last year they were damn near 30th in defense.
I would say
that he started to see the 05 right away.
That soft though.
Yeah.
Atlanta under Dan Quinn wasn't that soft. They were a run heavy team.
I thought y'all smacked folks, Brad. I think you being real with me. I thought
they flew around. They flew around. Yes, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, I don't think that teams like New Orleans is cool. New Orleans say Atlanta's not a rival. They weren't scared of the Falcons because they had Dan Quinn and a new defense. Not at all. This year's defense in Atlanta was better than what Dan Quinn produced in terms of toughness with the players they had it.
But New Orleans can also say that they had Drew Brees at the helm.
That's true, but what I'm saying is Wole and Glenn can relate to this. There are a lot of times where people feel as though it's a one-sided rivalry. Like teams that Washington views as a rival don't view them as a rival back, which isn't always the case. But what I'm saying is that New Orleans still didn't respect Atlanta. Teams still didn't respect Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now look at what Dan Campbell did in Detroit. He changed the way you view Detroit. You know you can't just get an automatic W. And if Dan Quinn produces defensively like he did in the rest of his career outside of maybe a season and a half in Atlanta, I think he's going to achieve that goal of all right. The Commanders aren't an automatic W no more.
But that was my point, Ray. You said it finally. You finally said it with the Dan Campbell comment. When I'm talking about the identity of the team, I'm not talking about identity on the field. I'm talking about identity in the locker room because Detroit started winning not on the field. Detroit won first in the locker room, and then they translated to the field.
They went on HBO. That's what they went.
Right. They translated so what can Dan Quinn bring? What can Dan Quinn bring into this What can Dan Quinn bring into this locker room to change the identity of the team?
I'll tell you that.
Get on Hard Knocks. Get on Hard Knocks.
It's called belief. Terry McLaurin has said it. Curtis Samuel said it. Jonathan Allen said it. They did not believe they could win. Chase Young, when he left, players when they left this organization said we didn't believe. We were packing it. You said the team quit. That's not going to happen. That will not happen under Dan Quinn. That won't happen.
And that's what the point I want to get to. That's the difference between the Detroit Lions of now and the Detroit Lions of back then, and that should be the difference. When a head coach, a new coach coming in, and you got a team that don't believe, the first job as you have the head coach is making folks believe in you, believe in the organization, believe in Adam Peters, and that makes the fan base believe. And then when you get people believing, there come the close games that you guys are talking about, right? There goes the wins that you're talking about. And again, it's the process that's go forward. No one's saying that this team is going to be the NFC East champions next year, but we will say that they're going to be they're going to be in contests. They're going to be in games that were blowouts this year, right? You'll see them fight a little bit. You can see them fight a little bit harder. You should see them. I'm not saying you are. You should see them fight a little bit harder. You should see guys want to go lay out a little bit more for football. You should see guys who may be a little bit injured. And then also plays for that, getting rid of some of the guys on this roster that don't want to be here.
That's true. My only criticism of Dan Quinn from experience is, and this is minus the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
His teams in Atlanta oftentimes didn't play 4 quarters. That's what got him fired. The year they started 0-5, they were winning in 3 of those 5 games. They were beating a mess out the Cowboys. I mean, it looked like it was over. People texted me like, "Dang."
I remember that.
Yeah,
I
remember.
And
You're
it
right.
was a historic comeback, and it's like,
I forgot about that.
If you're a defensive coach, why are you taking your foot off the gas so frequently? You stop being so aggressive. That's one thing he's going to have to fix. But other than that, I think they're going to compete. The team they quit on, the players loved him. Like I said, Todd Gurley came in, loved him.
But Ray, I've heard like folks were injured that year too, though, right? On the defense side of football, right? That year, his last year, weren't they injured? You would know better. I guess you would know better than that. Folks were saying that. I wasn't sure. Now.
Oh yeah, there were a ton of injuries. No doubt. But
Yeah.
Still, my thing is like Baltimore. That's what I think about.
Yeah, I got you. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm totally with you.
Next man up is cliche. And Dan Quinn, as much as the players liked him, is like, if you got this offense, you need to be winning some more games. So, he's going to have to put together complete games, I think, defensively. But they're going to improve vastly on the defensive side, which is going to be a breath of fresh air for everybody.
Yeah. I think he's going to help turn around Emmanuel Forbes because of the way that we.
Me too, bro. I think he is, man.
I really do.
And Jamin.
If Emmanuel Forbes just go ahead and do some work on himself and get about 10, 12 pounds on him, and come back.
Pound the yam and stew. That's what we need to do. Get some on him.
All you got to do is simplify for Emmanuel Forbes and the corners to play better. And they said it last year. Is simplify the defense. Don't give them $50 million assignments.
That's what Dan Quinn did, though.
That's what Dan Quinn going to do.
Yeah, he did.
Dan Quinn's going to allow him to play the style of football he plays, which is watching the quarterback throw the football so he can make the plays that he wants.
That's what made Diggs good. For real.
That's what makes Bland good. That's why Bland came in and filled in for Diggs right away because that's what Bland does too.
When you simplify the defense, if your defense can play faster, if they can understand their assignments, they'll play faster, they play harder. Simplify the defense, things get done.
Yeah. Clean house, Taj. I agree, brother. Change that culture. Yes, sir. So you're looking to have those Detroit type of results. That's what y'all looking for. Dan Campbell put the blueprint out there for how to turn around a franchise, bro. Bad one.
But you got to get good coaches to come in and actually coach. Dan Campbell's coaching staff coaches. They actually coach. No Jack Del Rio. Forget coaching scheme. You got to coach individual players. You have to coach players.
But that's the reason I think Ben Johnson didn't come to Washington, because I don't think Ben Johnson can control the team without Dan Campbell.
It's possible.
That's fair. That's a lot to handle. That's true.
Because you can be offensive coordinator. Offensive coordinator is totally different from head coach.
Right.
Yep.
Of course. We've seen that time and time again.
So again,
ask Josh McDaniels.
Right, ask Josh McDaniels, right? He can't do it. And I think
Arthur Smith.
I think Ben Johnson is no one's talking. People talk about he didn't interview well and all this other stuff. No.
Jim Zorn.
Ben Johnson.
Jay Gruden.
Right? Yeah, right. Ben Johnson is one of those guys. He needs a strong coach. He's not ready to be a head coach. He's good. He's better than offensive coordinator than he is a head coach.
Glenn, answer your own question, bro. What's the identity going to look like? I want to hear your thoughts, bro.
My identity as team is this. Identity of the team is the team has to be have confidence in themselves and their ability, right? Be able to take tough coaching,
belief,
right? And belief again, and being able to start off fast. Take the persona of the head coach, right? Most teams would adapt to the persona of the head coach. And if Dan Quinn is that guy that people say he is, and he can control a player like him, and they'll play for him, they trust him, they respect him, they believe in him, then you'll see that translate to the football field, flying around. I mean, look at Seattle when Seattle was winning. They took the persona of Pete Carroll, flying around, having fun, doing that type of stuff, right? And so you'll take that, and then win. So I want this team. I want this team to be more confident in their abilities. Guys like Terry McLaurin, guys like Payne, Allen, to have a little bit more confidence and take a leadership role. Not be a quiet leader, right? Be a vocal leader and not just lead by voice, but lead by example. And then Dan Quinn to hold these guys accountable for whatever they do, right? Hold them accountable. And you got to be able to.
I ain't trying to hear about pain and confidence. He got 22 million reasons to be confident.
That's what 22 million reasons didn't get Deron Payne to the Pro Bowl this year. 22 million didn't get Jonathan Allen to where he needed to be.
Jonathan Allen more so than what's his name because he had an injury that we know he was dealing with. Deron Payne got paid. It looked like he swindled his franchise. They put him on the franchise tag. They promised him he'd get his money if he played well. Out of nowhere, he gets double amount of sacks that he's ever had in the season. Gets paid, and then all of a sudden regresses back to 4 sacks.
But Mo, can we be honest, right? When you take away the pass rushers, your interior guys can't do anything.
He wasn't doing nothing before chasing them left.
He took up a whole 2 or 3 series in one game and won the game for him. The Denver series. Let's be honest. He was moving along.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like both. I think both sides are kind of true. I think that. I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you get paid that amount of money to most point, you got to be like an Aaron Donald type dude. Sometimes they paid you. You the one they paid. So it is what it is. You're right.
Saw that clip when he walked into the facility after he signed that contract, and everybody said, "We told you. You did this. You were going to get that." He came back and put out a dud. He got to bounce back, and he's a key aspect of this defense if they're going to do anything.
No, but I do think that I think they lost the defense, and so that hurt. Don't get twisted, that hurt too. But I'm saying that he got to play for something. Him too. He got to play for something too. He got to.
I want to go back to this comment. They lost a defensive coach mid-season. That dude ain't coached the whole year.
He's talking about Jack Del Rio, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think what he's talking about. They lost Jack Del Rio.
I showcased that. I just.
They lost Jack Del Rio week 2.
All right. George said glad Mo brought up Payne. I don't think one big contract or big name current commander won't be here after 2026. Payne, McLaurin, Robinson, Curl, everyone except maybe Trustway will be gone.
Curl is gone this year.
That's why I asked about the running back earlier. I didn't think y'all all going consistent. Oh yeah, definitely. I don't know. We will see.
I think Robinson will still be here. I think.
Brian Robinson is
he's on a rookie deal still. He got
that makes sense from a financial perspective.
And he's produced on that contract.
Yeah, he's producing way above that contract.
I like Brian Robinson. I'm just talking about potential wholesale changes. That's all. I mean,
he's not. I feel like people like McLaurin because they got money are more inclined to be. And no knock on Terry McLaurin. I'm just saying they're more inclined to be gone
for sure
because of money.
But they got to be gone at a certain
right.
At
a certain point, not now. Yeah. I'm like because of money. Like, players like Cam Curl will probably get paid, I believe, but the money he gets,
I hope so.
I don't think Cam Curl's going to get paid as much as people think he's going to get paid.
I don't think so either. No longer twisted because at the end of the day, and I think we all like the folks here know his value, but you still got to put up numbers. Safety numbers.
I'm about to say his numbers are pedestrian. He doesn't have any accolades.
I agree. The safeties are.
He's a local hero. That's it.
Yeah, and safety's gotta. Like I think he's an awesome player. Like it's not a knock on his play. But I do think that. But safeties, when you're a safety, and then we all see, we know this position.
You gotta put them numbers up.
You gotta get them picks. Like you gotta get them picks. You gotta put them. Like you
gotta be a turnover machine.
Like Cal Hamilton. Like can you say like Cal Hamilton made plays? Therefore, you look at him a different way. Yeah. That's just how the safety position is always going to be, and it's always been that way.
Like your safety has to be active. You have to pop on the screen.
That's what I'm saying.
Lake said this a couple years ago on the show. I don't know if y'all remember. Lake said what is good in Washington is not good in the NFL.
Nah.
Right? Right? True. We think something is good because
that's
it's
true.
in Washington.
Very
we think
true.
something is good because it's in Washington. In NFL, it's not
outside's different. They think differently.
Yeah, they think different. Cam Curl may be good in Washington, but when you compare him to everybody else,
I know that a lot of guys get better when they leave here or they look good again.
Yeah, he'll probably. I'm not saying that he won't be better when he leaves here. That's not the. I agree with that.
Oh no, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not either. I like y'all know I like Cam Curl.
I like him.
I like him too. I like him
I
too.
like- I
I think
like
he'd be
him
better
too.
somewhere else too, right? To your point, I think he'd be better somewhere else.
Yeah.
I
Be
think
better
he'll get his
somewhere else.
numbers somewhere else.
But
I
does
just
he
think
get
that,
paid?
but to Mo's point, like being in Washington kind of may have depreciated his value because of the way that he's been used.
Yeah,
And-
Breland kind of touched on that too.
Yeah.
We talked to him before about how
Yeah.
players are in different systems when they leave and they get different opportunities. They coach
Yeah.
differently. It all factors in. But
Yeah.
I think Cam Curl's
And they're
respected
around
around the
better
league, though, no
players.
doubt.
Just being
Yeah,
around
that
other
too.
better players, man.
And
like,
better coaches. And
better coaches. I mean,
Mhm.
The scheme is better. All right, we gotta wrap the show. We've talked about this, had a good time talking about Dan Quinn and whatnot. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. You had their comments, so we do appreciate the love. Before we
Wait till the
end,
draft.
I know, right? You ain't lying. Before we close the show up, make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Gold Everything. Also, tweet us at ABG_everything. Hit us up on IG at ABG_everything. I like our All Burgundy and Gold Everything Facebook page. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Gold Everything YouTube channel as well. Hey, we all appreciate you all. I know I'm redundant, but I have to say it again. Without y'all make this show more energetic with y'all comments. So we definitely appreciate y'all. Anyway, thank you all for listening. You've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold Everything, powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia, for ages. You dig? Deuces. We out.